Okay, I think it's done. All right, good evening, everyone. Okay, good to see many of you here. So there's about 93 of you waiting. Okay, so how many of you are excited about NVIDIA earnings and has already read the reports? Yeah, type of me. Any one of you have read the outcome from NVIDIA earnings? Type of me. Okay. Or just a summary. Okay. Okay, sort of. Some of you say somewhat. Okay, so NVIDIA is a very important market mover, and that's why we chose this topic, and it's also requested by a lot of our YouTube audience. So first of all, let me introduce myself first, in case some of you do not know me. If you are Beyond Insight student, yeah, type yes. If you are not Beyond Insight students, type a no, N, right? Not our student, type no. And if you are a student already, type a yes. Those of you from Mumu, live feed as well, yeah, do let us know, as well as for YouTube live. Yeah, it's either Y or N. Yeah, so at least I know whether there's anyone here that's also not our students. Yeah. Okay, so for those of you who may not know me yet, my name is Kathlyn, and I'm the founder and chief trainer of Beyond Insights. Our company has been already in existence for 16 years, and we are a financial educator in investment and trading. Yeah, for the I primarily trade the US market, and I've been trading for more than 30 years already. I started from Malaysia market to the US market. So today we'll be sharing with you about NVIDIA latest earnings analysis. What are the key insights from this earnings announcement, and what are the potential impact on the overall industry? Okay. All right, so this is on NVIDIA Q4 earnings. The way they classify the quarter and the year can be a bit confusing, right, to some of you who are not used to interpreting financial statement. They are calling this a Q4 25 earnings. Even though now we are only in February, right? You may be confused. So why is it not called Q1? It's because the NVIDIA earnings, NVIDIA year end for their financial statement, for the annual financial statement, is as of February 2025, right? So they consider that as a Q4, the last quarter of 2025, which means this one they will provide also the full year results, yeah, which is actually a better one for us to analyze. Okay, so today is about analyzing the latest Q4 performance. Right, before I move on, I'd like to highlight that Beyond Insights, our company, is not an investment advisor company, and also whatever we shared today, same for Mumu as well, whatever we share today is not an investment advice, right? So I strongly advocate all of you to make sure that you learn investment and trading properly before you enter any trade, because you agree that the market is dynamic. Whatever we shared today, things can change. And it is not just about NVIDIA earnings announcement that's moving the market. There's two announcements from Trump that can move the market as well, right? There's two fiscal policy announcements just yesterday. Okay, so if you stay back towards the end, I will cover NVIDIA first, right? And the Q&A related to NVIDIA earnings. Then at the end of the session, I will share with you two of the other macro-related events that may move the market. So if you're not aware of understand the financial market and you just take whatever we shared today, that could be risky for you, right? So, and you also need to make sure that you have a proper risk management. So Beyond Insights and Mumu are not liable for any risk that you're taking, right? So make sure that you educate yourself properly. So what we share today is for education purpose, so that you understand how to analyze earnings and take a more informed decision. Right, so let's look at the highlights first. The key updates from NVIDIA. NVIDIA has 4 major business segments. Yeah, they call it markets, right? I will call it business segments because sometimes market could be, China market, Malaysia market, US market. Yeah, so to be consistent, I will just use their naming, which is market. So they segment this into 4 areas. Data center is one of their fastest growing market and the largest revenue for NVIDIA. So if you look at here, there's for the year 2025, their total year revenue is 35.6 billion, the biggest composition for NVIDIA earnings. It's up 16%. So normally for earnings announcement, you need to they will usually report quarter-to-quarter performance, right? So right now they are comparing Q4 to Q3, the last quarter, right? So that's a more what we call a sequential growth. Sequential means Q3 to Q4. What is the growth rate? That's another comparison is year on year, which is Q4 last year compared to Q4 this year. The reason they do that is so that it can be apple to apple comparison to cater for any seasonality, right? Sometimes year end, the sales could be better, okay? Especially for retail as well as, and also for the tech sector or the services industry.
Kathlyn, are you sharing your slides?
Oh, sorry, I didn't share screen. Okay, I didn't know that. Sorry about that. I thought I'd been sharing screen. Yeah, next time can share with me earlier. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, sorry, I may not be looking at the prompter. Do speak on the mic in case I miss it. Yeah. Okay, so this is the slides I'm sharing. Apologize for that. Okay, so this is the disclaimer, right? But whatever we share today is for education purposes only, not as investment advice. Yeah, so these are the business segment I want to share with you. Apologize, I thought you're looking at my screen just now. If you look at the data center revenue over here, you can see it's up 16% quarter to quarter. It may not look big from last quarter to this quarter, but on an annual basis, you compare Q4 last year to Q4 this year, it's 93%. So how many of you think that 93% is considered big? Is it big or small to you? What do you think? Yeah, type on the chat. Is it a big increase or small increase to you? Big increase, right? So by right, NVIDIA stock should be going up, gap up, or go down or flat based on this performance. Okay, but it should be up. But why is it not up so much? Later we'll go to the stock chart and I'll explain, based on my personal analysis, right? Why is it reacting the way it is? Okay, yeah, it is not up that much. In fact, it went down after the earnings announcement, right? If you look at the post-market reaction, it actually went down first. Yeah. So what could be the reason? Since we are on this topic, why not I just share that with you? Right? Let me just show you the NVIDIA stock chart of what happened right after this. Then I can explain better after that. Okay. Yeah. So this is the NVIDIA daily chart on the left-hand side. Okay, you can see that the daily chart is very choppy. Like this one, the big gap down here is the DeepSeek announcement, and it caused NVIDIA to gap down. Right, then you come back here. So if you want to understand more about the DeepSeek impact to NVIDIA and the ecosystem, you can watch our YouTube live that was done quite a few weeks ago. Right, there's you can watch back the old video here, and this is where we are. Right, on the right-hand side is an intraday chart. Right, this is where the earnings announcement is. You can see it. Let me make it bigger. Okay. So when I share screen, the menu went to my other screen. Too many screen that I'm here. Yeah. So this is the earnings announcement. You can see right after the earnings release, normally they will announce the revenue and EPS actual versus the previous forecast, previous quarter forecast, and it will be choppy here. Then at 6 o'clock, you can see at 6 o'clock here, it moved again. This is when the conference call is held, where there will be additional presentation from the usually the CEO, sometimes CFO as well, where they will also answer questions from the analysts, yeah, or the audience that is attending. Then after that, people will digest this and the market will move again. So you can see that after the conference call, which end at our 7 a.m. Malaysia time, the New York time 6 p.m., it actually came down. So what it means is they don't see it as a positive, okay? Then there's a break here because this is post-market hours. There are about 4 hours of trading after US market close, and then continue today, 4 hours before market open. You can see at 5 p.m. the market start to move and it recovers up here, right? So the good thing is the 130 support holds well here. But the question is, why is it with such a big increase, 93% is still 93% is still not enough to, make NVIDIA bullish? What do you think is the reason? I'd like you to think first. Let's see who has the answer. Yeah, why do you think it's not enough to cause NVIDIA to gap up or bullish right after the earnings announcement? It went up and it came back down. Okay, yes, one could be the guidance. Yeah, expectation is too high to begin with. Yes, very good. CL, right? The growth rate is slowing down. Very good. I think you, some of you, if you have be paying attention, you may see that the I've highlighted something here on this chart here. Yeah, the growth rate, year-on-year growth rate is slowing down. Also, as you continue to grow more aggressively, your base become bigger. So let's say you grow from 10 billion to 20 billion, right? So you need to make 10 billion on top of 10 billion to have 100% growth. But once you have 20 billion, you have to make another 20 billion to have 100% growth. So it's not easy to continuously having 100% growth. So we can see here, from the Q1 last year, the growth rate was amazing, right? That was when NVIDIA was very bullish. So from the start of the ramp, about 2 years ago, NVIDIA gone up like 700+%. And that was because during the initial part of the year, like 1 year ago, the growth rate is 427. After that, in second quarter, if you compare Q2 to the Q2 the previous year, it's 155. Then it's 112, and now it's 93. Right? As you can see, it's more like a curve rather than the diagonal line. And this is normal, right? Most companies that are having aggressive growth, I've seen this happening to many companies before, all the way starting from the BlackBerry, which is in the same situation, to Apple during the prime time of Apple, to Facebook, like the prime time of Facebook. They all go through these stages. Okay, so you just need to understand the cyclical nature, right? The different wave of the company. Yeah, where is it in the life cycle? Okay. So although 93% is high, the other reason is because of the valuation, which I will share with you later. So data center is definitely the highest growth area. The second segment is gaming. NVIDIA start off with gaming, right? But the challenges in gaming here is it has gone down 22% quarter to quarter, but overall for the year is 11% up, right? But it's already considered slow, right? You can see the data center is the major driver. Then professional visualization is a much smaller revenue for them, right? Let's look at this 35.6 billion, right? Compared to this, you can see this is really huge, right? It's more than 10 times, okay? Probably 15 times, 15 times data center. And if you look at this 0.51, right? 0.51 to this is very small. If you look at 0.51 to this, is also small. It's about 1/5. Okay, but it's still important for NVIDIA to diversify. Then you have automotive, right? Slightly bigger than the professional visualization. So this area is only 10% year-on-year growth. But the automotive is one of the important highlights as well. It's growing 103% year-on-year. Even though it's small, it's also important for NVIDIA to grow in this area. It's just like Apple, right? Even though the services is a lower percentage impact compared to iPhone, right? iPhone is high percentage, but iPhone can get more saturated over time. So it's important for Apple to grow the services sector, right? Yeah. So don't look at just a small one and it's not important, right? Because data center will come to its maturity, right? Once you set up all your data center, will there be a point in time where you don't need to buy so many servers? What do you think? Right, there'll be a point in time after you fit up all the different data center. Then when would you need to buy more server? What do you think? When will be the next time? After how many years? Yeah, type on the chat. After how many years you need to buy again? Yeah, probably 3 to 5 years. Right? Unless they need a much higher speed to compete with a competitor. Right? Yeah. So this is something that you need to understand the cyclical nature. Now we are in the growth rate of data center. A lot of data center is still being built, not just in the US. Right? Donald Trump mentioned about the $500 billion, like 500 million data center in the US, which Elon Musk said there's no money, okay, not enough money to build that. But they have other partners like SoftBank, Oracle, and even Apple want to participate to join it. Including Microsoft, so they could have the funding. So that is not fit up yet. So there will still be a lot of purchase coming up. And also in ASEAN country, there's a lot of data center to be built. So now it's in the prime time of building, right? Since 2 years back, Like last year is the prime time for data center building up, and this year, after that, do you think the growth rate will slow down again? Yeah, so that's where people are concerned with the slowing down of the growth rate, right? So let's proceed. Okay. So in the NVIDIA earnings report, it actually mentioned a couple of highlights. So they have a record quarterly revenue. Record means like this is the all-time high earnings, right? So 12% from Q3 and year-on-year is 78%. So total, they have their best quarter. And data center revenue also 93%, which is their all-time high. And full year revenue also increased a lot, right? So you don't have to be concerned so details here because the key highlights is on the front page. I just want to mention to you what the CEO and the CFO highlighted in the earnings report. Another important aspect is EPS. EPS is the one that drives growth price, right? Because if you look at this formula here, right? PE. Okay. PE equals to stock price divided by earnings per share. Okay, so stock price right equals to PE times, right? If you put this up, yeah, PE times earnings per share, right? So the higher earnings per share with the same PE, the stock price is justified to go up, right? Higher EPS, same valuation, stock price justified to go up. So EPS forecast is very important. Make sense? Yeah. So, and if the company has higher growth rate, it justifies higher PE. Okay, the growth rate is higher than it justifies higher PE. Right? That's how the numbers comes in. So that's why this forecast is also important. The diluted EPS, the EPS grow by 82% year-on-year. So this is a bit technical. I won't go into the details. So in layman terms, non-GAAP take into remove all those one-time charge items so that it's more comparable year-on-year. But when you report to the Security Commission, you have to give the GAAP earnings. Right? That means you include all the expenses or extraordinary expenses and income. Whereas the non-GAAP remove those extraordinary items so that when you compare quarter to quarter, year-on-year, it's more comparable. That's why there's two line items here, but it's not much difference. It's still 0.89, and the year-on-year, there's some slight difference here. Okay, normally I prefer to look at a non-GAAP, okay, because then I don't have to be, I don't get distorted by those one-time charge. Yeah, although I still take note what is that one-time charge to see how significant it is. And as an annual basis, the EPS grow by 147. So how is this important? If you look at NVIDIA stock price has gone up 700% in the last 2 years, right? So in order to justify that, how much more room can it go up? So the stock price has already moved in anticipation of the high growth rate, right? During the 2023, right? That was the early start. Yeah, let me just show you what I mean here. I think I still have my old entry somewhere here. The very, very early entry. Yeah, this was my earliest entry. That was before NVIDIA stock price split, right? Or the old price before is split. This was my entry price during the early stage trend reversal. If you look at January, this is in January 2023. So it's already 2 years. Like NVIDIA has gone up a lot. Let me look at the price range. Like let's say if you look at from here all the way to the peak, right? Yeah, is this much? Yeah. So if you adjust a bit to the earlier stage trend reversal, it's 700+%. Like this is the early stage trend reversal. I wait for the rebound. Yeah. So it's close to 700%. So do you think that a lot of the big funds would have want to take profit by now? Right. Those of you who have attended our trend trading, you know this is currently in the exhaustion stage. Right. You already missed the best run for NVIDIA. Right. This is the stage 2 consolidation, another stage 2 consolidation, another stage 2. This already very exhausted. So in order for this to drive higher, they have to have a big surprise in earnings, right? Because just imagine, right? The stock has gone up around 700+%, but the EPS growth, right, is during the early stage like 400+, and now the EPS growth is only 100%, right? So how is it going to continue to rally so much? Yeah, so this is one of the reasons why it slowed down. I would see that there will be more balancing happening. That means the big funds where if they have made so much money from this early stage, right, then they would want to reduce this and go for the stocks that has a lower valuation, unless NVIDIA really have exceptions, surprises. It doesn't mean this is going to be a big downtrend, right? But it's going to be hard for it to continue to be so bullish, like before. Do you understand? Yeah. So I may not be able to cover all the questions here, so our team will bring it up to me if needed. Yeah. Yeah, so if you are a student, right, you would have learned how to identify all these trend reversal. Right, after you miss the trend reversal, then you look at trend continuation. That you can still move up stop loss, add positions along the way. And if you do that, your reward always will be very good. Yeah. So then you're also protected. So when it's the downturn like this, you'll be automatically out because of the stop loss. Well, will protect you. Then you have to wait for here. Like that's another entry here. Okay. So this is the time that goes sideways. The best thing to do is to use option, so that when it's sideways, you can still collect rental income, which is the strategy that I use when it comes to the sideways consolidation. Okay, unless it's way overpriced, like you exit. NVIDIA, although it's overpriced, but it's not that excessive, right? Palantir is very overpriced, okay? But NVIDIA is not that extreme, but it's not cheap anymore. So this is where it became shaky after the DeepSeek. DeepSeek actually challenged the support here. It broke the support because people worry that the big guys may not be investing so much in data center. Okay, so this is what I want to share. Let's come back to the presentation first. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Let's look at some of the forward-looking statement. A lot of times the forecast is actually more important than whether they meet or beat expectation. So they mentioned that they have successfully ramped up the massive scale production of Blackwell. Blackwell is the latest platform, I would say, right? It's a huge platform. Inside there's like 72 different layers of GPU. So it has achieved 11 billion of sales for it in just the first quarter. So let me share with you why this is significant. Just now we talked about data center sales for the whole year is over 35.6 billion roughly. And this one, in just Q1 alone, they managed to sell 11 billion. Like, so that's why this is significant. And Jensen Huang also mentioned that the agentic AI and physical AI is going to set the stage for the next wave of AI. So what is the current stage? Anyone know? What has been driving the AI in the last 2 years? What is that called? In the last 2 years, what is the main theme? What type of AI? Last 2 years. What is all this ChatGPT, Llama, Gemini, DeepSeek, what is it called? Yeah, generative AI. Generative AI. So you ask a question, then it generates a response for you. The next thing, which is already happening, is called agentic AI. So you can assign it a task, then it go and do work for you, right? Yesterday, Terence, my husband was also been to the CRM sharing of the latest deliverables on using agentic AI, in the Salesforce solutions. Right, so this is also a hot topic right now. And physical AI, that means integration into hardware, right? Like robotics, humanoids. Right, so that will be the next one. Example, Elon Musk, right, is also mentioning that a lot of people will want a humanoid, and they will need to integrate that with the AI. That will be the next wave one. But I think this one may become slower because of affordability, right? Not even though everyone may want a robot, but not everyone can afford a robot yet, and it takes time to mature. But at least we know there's more drivers than just generative AI. Okay, so this is the next potential wave. And let's look at the forecast. Revenue expected to be 43 billion plus minus 2%. So compared to the current amount, let's look at where we are right now, 35.6, right? I'd like you to calculate 35.6 plus 43. How much is that? Like 43. Yeah, 35.6. I should calculate this earlier. 35.6. It's only about 20.8%. Right, so it's not going to be 100% year-on-year revenue growth. So NVIDIA has reached a point where the growth rate is slowing down, right, from a revenue. And then the gross margin is also important. So it's 70.6, right, for GAAP, and 71, plus minus 0.5. So far, they are maintaining around the range, right? It's slightly low right now. Then operating expenses is also important, so that we know whether they are spending a lot on R&D. Right? If they spend a lot on R&D, it's good for NVIDIA, right? Because they need to compete, but excessive R&D can eat into profit margin. Okay, so the tax rate is more or less the same. Yeah, so the key here is the revenue, right? It's only about 20.8% year-on-year growth. It's no longer like the historical growth. Okay, so what are the key risks to manage? So I want to highlight here, there's a few areas that we need to take note. Around 50% of data center revenue came from the big tech and cloud provider like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta. Right? So what does it mean when it's too concentrated on these four guys? And they just reported earnings on heavy investment, right, in the data center. And they increased the investment in data center. So what do you think will be the risk for being so concentrated with four customers? What do you think? Some of you are saying, need a humanoid. Your partner giving you a lot of headache, so you need a humanoid. All right, so I hope the delay from the YouTube response is not too long. Yeah, if customer cancel order, yes, remember the DeepSeek concern, right? People will worry that these big tech like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Meta, whether they will reduce their investment with the perception that based on this DeepSeek findings on the algorithm, like the model may not need that much computing power. That means you don't need so many GPU. So that actually caused a big concern, and NVIDIA stock and a lot of data center related stocks actually gapped down. But when they came in and reassured that they are increasing the spending, not just stay flat, but increasing, it actually relieved some of the concern. But what if after they purchase, they did this what they call commitment statement, right? For the next 1 year, they're going to spend this much. But do you think they can still change their mind next quarter? Right? They just say that I'm going to spend this much amount, like 80 billion or so. But in the next quarter, as they look at the demand, do you think they can also change their mind? And if they change their mind, what will happen? Right? Do you think that will affect NVIDIA stock and those data center related ecosystem? So we just need to be aware of the dependency, and the demand could be lower later. Let's say this year there's a huge demand. Next year there may be lesser demand, right? Until they max out the capacity. So it also depends on the ongoing demand for the usage. Right. So if they find that the take-up rate is not so high, then they may slow down next year purchase or the second half of this year. And after they purchase this huge amount, it may take them 3 to 5 years before the next purchase cycle. So this is also what you need to understand on companies that are selling laptops, smartphones, right? PC. So same goes for server. Yeah. So there's a cycle to it. Right. Gaming, this area used to be the top for NVIDIA, and now it's slowing down, and it's also cyclical. It all depends on what games, any favorite games in there. So if you have a very popular game, then the demand comes up again. If there's not a lot of popular games, then it slow down. And at one time, China were controlling the gaming hours, right, for teenagers, and that is the time where there's a slump on the demand for gaming. Okay? Yeah, so this is something you need to take note, because this is the second largest segment for NVIDIA. The other important risk is the supply chain and manufacturing dependency. So NVIDIA is very reliant on TSMC as the main fab to produce the chip. Next one is Samsung. And you know that Donald Trump actually wanted to bring the manufacturing back to the US. And when you bring back to the US, do you think it's so easy to just move TSMC to US? Like not move, I mean start up a plant there. Early days, TSMC already have challenges hiring, and they were delaying for almost 2 years, right, to feed up the factory, and also to get a lot of people to fill up the positions until they have to fly people from Taiwan over. So it's not so straightforward. And if the ramp up is not fast enough, then it could affect the delay on the delivery to its customer. And also it's going to cost higher to manufacture in the US. You agree? Yeah, so there's some of the risks that we need to manage. So it depends on how aggressive Donald Trump want to push for it, okay? And whether he want to subsidize some of the transition. Yeah, there were some talks where he want NVIDIA to work with Intel, right, for the starting up the US fabrication manufacturing. Right, so the number 4 is actually the most crucial right now. Geopolitical and regulatory risks. Trade tension between US and China can lead to more sanction. So far, US is having a restriction for NVIDIA and AMD to export their highest end GPU chip that's related to AI, right? So that means they will lose some part of the revenue, but that is already factored into the stock price. So if they announce any newer model, then I mean the next level, right? That means not the highest end, but the next level, if they want to control, then that could be more impact to NVIDIA and also for AMD. Competition-wise, there's that Huawei has been actively, and also SMIC in China. Although the technology is still behind NVIDIA and also TSMC, right? SMIC is the fab equivalent in China for, I mean, you can call it a TSMC competitor, but the technology is way behind. But not everything needs so high end, right? So we need to continue to watch out for the development in Huawei and SMIC. Okay? Right now, NVIDIA still have advantage, not just on the hardware, but hardware could be 2 to 3 years ahead of AMD. But we don't know what Huawei is cooking. Now the manufacturing yield in SMIC are still very low. Okay, that means their cost is going to be very high, and the technology for the in terms of the nanometer is still very low. But for the future, right, they may speed up on that, right? It may get closer and closer. But one of the important things to take note for NVIDIA is, what do you think is the biggest competitive advantage for NVIDIA? Yeah, that they have a few years leap ahead of the competitor. What do you think is the NVIDIA key competitive advantage? Yeah, type on the chat. Yes, very good. It's CUDA, right? CUDA, they have a 5 to 10 years advantage because they started way so early, and they also have it available for university students, so more people are familiar with it. You can program at a high level language, right? Just to keep it layman, this is like having another level of abstraction for you to program the GPU. And then you can concentrate on getting your work done to program what you need to do for AI, rather than deal with the low-level language for the chip, microchip, right? And you transition to another microchip, then there's an encapsulation. You don't have to redo everything. So DeepSeek actually right at the low level. That's why they are more efficient. But when they change to new chip, then they'll have a lot of work to do, and it's harder to hire people that are technical to do that. Like, so CUDA is one of the main advantage for NVIDIA. So even if Huawei can come up with a more a chip that close the gap, but they may not be able to close the gap for CUDA so fast. So this is the time where NVIDIA really have to leverage the time to make the money. Okay. Yeah. So any questions on this so far, on the risk? Okay, it's important to understand this, right? So you have the confidence on you don't keep having this fear, oh, when is NVIDIA going to crash, right? Is Huawei going to come up with a chip? But we always have to be prepared for the worst. We don't know what NVIDIA, we don't know what Huawei is cooking, right? They already have a lot of advancement on 6G, right? They skip one generation, right? They do a lot of R&D on that, and that's competing with the wireless link with Tesla. Okay, so anything can happen for them to close the gap. Hopefully they don't close the gap so fast on the software side. Okay. But one thing I want to highlight to you, which is what I mentioned in the DeepSeek, is the US customer alone, right? And plus Europe, it's already a big market, right? Look at the demand from Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Meta. It's not something that even Alibaba, Baidu, Tencent, right, is sufficient. If you look at all the cloud requirement coming from Tencent, Alibaba, or Baidu, it's actually relatively very small compared to the requirement from Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Meta, because there's a lot of software company in the US, and plus all of us, right, keeping our Google Drive, iCloud, and so on. This is where one of the great advantage for these 4 big tech plus NVIDIA, right? Because US will not want to use a China chip, and if any of the company use, then Donald Trump will do something about it. Now the fear would be more on the Europe if Donald Trump, right, spoil his relationship with Europe. Yeah, then the Europe will say, okay, should I buy China chip or US chip, right? Yeah. So I want to speed up this section because there will be, I want to go through the charts so they can look at some correlation. Like, so the we have the ability for you to, who wants to have the slide here? Anyone? If you want the slide, type on me. Like, so if you want the slide, stay until the end. We'll give you a link where you can actually download this. I just need to key in a few information, then you can get the slide. So I don't have to go through some of this. If I go through this page by page, I won't have time to go through the charts anymore. So these are some of the key achievements and opportunities in the automotive space. Yeah, there are many other areas. You can look at their earnings announcement, go to the NVIDIA website. But I want to highlight this area where some of you may not be so familiar. Like Toyota and Hyundai has been partnering with NVIDIA, right, to adopt their chip for the autonomous driving. And also this is the NVIDIA Drive OS and the Cosmos, which is a platform, right? So this is an area where because Toyota is one of the biggest auto manufacturer, right, that can help to drive the demand. So if you continue to have more brands coming in, that will be good for NVIDIA, so that it's not too concentrated on the generative AI. Okay. All right, so let's look at the valuation. I put a summary here. Just simplify this because this is the public, right? In our Growth Investing Express class and also our Company Insight, which go deeper, we go into much deeper into how to analyze this. But now I want to keep it simple, right? Simple for beginners. The P ratio, price over earnings, is high, 51.71, right? More than 30 is already considered high for the in general. But if the growth rate is high, sometimes it can justify, right? So we have 4P24, not extreme. That's why I said NVIDIA valuation is not extreme, okay? But you're already paying some part of the future, right? 51 based on PE, you're already paying some part of the future growth. So if the future growth is not as high, then there can be a correction when it comes to bad news. Okay? The PEG ratio is not excessive, right? This is PE to growth ratio. The ROE is fantastic, right? So this is an admirable company. How do you get like return of equity for every dollar you put in for the shareholder? They are making you 127%. How many of you think that this is actually very profitable? Type of me if you think this is very profitable. Yeah, return of asset also is very good. Okay, then gross margin is also high. If you compare this to Tesla, you know, Tesla gross margin is in the range of 10%. I mean, a lot of these metrics is around the lower end of the 2-digit. Okay, and the net profit margin is 55.69. That means NVIDIA is very, very profitable. And because of that, you also accumulate a lot of cash flow, which allows us to do stock buyback. This round, they did not announce additional stock buyback, but in the past, they have already done quite a lot of stock buyback. I think this round, they focus a lot more on the R&D, right? Putting the cash into the R&D. But we know that as they continue to sell more, they will have more and more cash that will allow them to do stock buyback. So even though the valuation sometimes could be stretched, right? When they have stock buyback, they've reduced the number of shares in the market, which justify the stock price to go up. Earnings per share, right? So if you have less share, each share has a bigger pie to the earnings, then it can justify the stock price to grow. Right, so this is one area that NVIDIA has advantage. Okay, so now let's look at another aspect, which is what does the analyst think after the earnings announcement? Although it's still new, because after the US earnings announcement, which is after the conference call 7 p.m., a lot of the analysts could have gone back, need to go to rest. Then today, they're going to start work. They haven't come, they probably haven't wake up yet. But these are the analysts that has updated yesterday. We should see more and more updates today. The most important area here, what do you notice from this analyst update? So we have about 10 of them updating. What is the theme here? Is there a lot of upgrades? Is there a lot of downgrades, or is it neutral? Which one? Yeah, we cover this in our growth investing class. So those of you who have attended, a lot of our students here. Yeah, this is mostly neutral, because reiterate means maintain their old rating. They don't see anything different after the earnings. Is like per expected. Like that means after they listen to the earnings announcement and the conference call, they think it's still in line with whatever they forecast earlier. So it's still better than downgrade. Okay, so it's only one downgrade, which is hold. Sometimes hold, it could just mean that they think the valuation right now, the price right now, already factor in the benefits, so there's not much more potential upside, and you have to wait. It's not a bad thing, right? It doesn't say sell, and the rest of it say maintain or reiterate, like maintain whatever their projections earlier. So do watch out for any new upgrades here. Stock price move by the upgrades. If there are a lot of analysts upgrade the target price, then it could be more bullish. Okay, but right now, this is what we have. This slide I have updated during the DeepSeek, so it's just put in here for FYI. After the DeepSeek issues, NVIDIA stock price and all the data center stock came down. But right after that, the following week, we have these big 4 tech earnings, and each one of them reiterate a higher investment, not just into a higher investment in data center, which help NVIDIA stocks to and some of the data center stock to go back up. And Amazon is the one that invests the most. Yeah, coupled by Microsoft. So what is the negative impact? A lot of these stocks, after they declare this huge CapEx investment, the stock came down, right? It's not going to be a disaster, but if you have the stock, you need to understand that, look at the valuation. Even though some of the stocks here, the valuation is pretty attractive right now, you need to understand that there will be concern with the profit margin, right? So it may be consolidating sideways for a while. So based on this, if you're an investor or trend trader, one example Australia can use is like covered call or diagonal call, where you can collect money even though it's sideways. But you need to time the entry based on what we teach you in the Growth Investing Express, right? How do you look at the valuation and how you look at the stock chart as well, that this is the right timing. Now you will have a lot of great deals, yeah, for some of these stocks, yeah, because a lot of them are penalized because of the projection of the CapEx investment. Okay, now, so before I move on to the chart, I want to share this, probably one of the most important slides. Okay, what are the opportunities and the risks out there? This slide talk about ripple effect, or you call that the dependency diagram. We have a course called Industry Insights, where we have a very detailed diagram of the whole supply chain dependency for semiconductor. Right, so when you have something happen to one company, what's the chain reaction to the upstream, downstream, parallels, and the competitors? Right, so now I'm simplify this to just the impact on NVIDIA alone. Right, so when you have an NVIDIA earnings announcement, how could it impact other stock performance? So let's look at NVIDIA upstream supplier. Right, who produce NVIDIA chip? NVIDIA is called a fabless company. That means it doesn't have fabrication. It doesn't produce its own chip. So it outsourced to TSMC and Samsung, right? Samsung is listed in Korea. And Micron is one of the component supplier for the high bandwidth memory, okay, HBM. And we have SK Hynix from Korea and also ASE Group from Taiwan, yeah, which is also the packaging partner. So if, let's say, NVIDIA forecasts a drop, right, then all these companies may be affected, because NVIDIA and Apple is one of the big customer for TSMC, right? So if they project higher demand, then it will benefit, right? So that's what I mean by the ripple effect. And if it's so-so, then right, their support can hold. Okay? So because before the earnings announcement, some of these stocks are a bit shaky already. How many of you realize that? Yeah, some of our industry insight students may realize, right? So some of these stocks are a bit shaky. They worry that NVIDIA may miss the forecast expected. And downstream, customer are Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Google. Why is it important to know this? So anytime they have a different forecast on the requirement for the GPU or servers, right, then it will affect NVIDIA. Like this one is the other way around, okay? And the OEM partners like SMCI, Dell, and HP, these are the these are the companies that produce server, right? They assemble servers and they have they need to get the CPU chip, the GPU chip, the memory from other companies, and they assemble it, right? So these are called the OEM partners. So if the demand for server is low, then it will affect the GPU demand. Then competitors, AMD and Intel are the core competitor. We don't cover the China part yet, right? So later on you will have Huawei as well. If they come up with an advanced GPU to compete with NVIDIA. Then data center, it's not an upstream, downstream, or sideways, right? Sideways is, for example, your competitor, right? That will be in the parallels, we call it parallels. Data center is a bit indirect. Yeah? When there's a lot of data center requirement, then it will help the demand for NVIDIA. So if NVIDIA shows a lower demand, people may think you don't need so much data center. Right, so NVIDIA actually forecasts still a high demand, so the data center stock is able to hold the support. Like later on, I will show you some example. So this in the data center, there's a lot of components, which we actually shared in our, the last round, we covered data center dependency in our Industry Insight course, and also cover some part of it in the DeepSeek YouTube Live. So I just pick up a few stocks here. We have a list of 50 stocks that we give to our student, which is around 25 data center and about 25, 26 on cloud computing ecosystem. So the example here is power infrastructure. We have a VRT and CEG, power producer, construction, EQIX. This is the companies that construct the data center. And server is the same as this OEM partner. Storage, right? Western Digital and Seagate. And networking partners, we have Broadcom, who supply the networking chip, and also Cisco, ANET, and Juniper. Okay. All right. So now let's look at the NVIDIA earnings announcement and how it impacts. You will see a better correlation if it's very bullish or very bearish. Right now it's so. Right? You may not see the it's not as easy to see the correlation. Yeah, so you can look back at the past when NVIDIA post earnings is very bearish or very bullish. You can look back at these stocks, right? 2 years back, you won't see much correlation with data center because data center is not hot yet. But you will see the correlation with AMD, Intel, and the upstream supplier, right? Last year, there's a lot of talks about data center growth. So then you will see more correlation with data center. This correlation can change over time. Yeah, I mean, the significance of correlation can change over time. Okay, so now let's look at the NVIDIA earnings impact. So as I go through the live chart, I want to remind you again, this is for education purpose. So when I show you the chart, it doesn't mean I'm advocating to buy that. I'm just sharing with you for education on the correlation. Okay, it's not an investment advice. Right. So after I show the live charts, we'll have some announcement. Then you can stay back for Q&A, and also we'll be sharing with you the 2 macro events impacting the market, because macro is impacting 40% of the stock price. Okay, so let's go to the stock chart right now. Is there any questions, Lee Chai and also Lex, that I need to address from the chat?
No, not really.
Any important questions from the chat?
No, all good.
Okay, great. All right, still seeing my screen here. All right, so if you look at the big picture for NVIDIA, let me hide all the lines first. Right, look at the big picture for NVIDIA. It's already past the most bullish period. So you need to adjust your expectations, right? So it had really gone up, sideways, up, okay? Some correction, up, bigger correction. This is where people worried about the valuation too high, right? Then it continued to ramp again. After some profit taking, right? Then there's more room to go up, but then it went into sideways again because of Donald Trump tariff, okay? Yeah, so if no tariff, then it could be more bullish. Yeah, so now this is where we are looking at what will be the more likely scenario. So first, before I give you my perspective, I'd like you to think, what do you think would be the trend for NVIDIA? And I will show the intraday chart so that you can get some idea what happened after earnings. Yeah, so this is the earnings. It came down and went up over here. Yeah, on the daily chart, more likely it's going to be sideways. But one positive aspect is before the earnings, there was some profit taking, right? People were concerned whether NVIDIA will cause some NVIDIA will have some slower growth, but at least the data center growth is per expectation and slightly above expectation. So that should help it to maintain the support. The stronger support actually is around here, that 125 region, right? And it rebounded strongly over here. Okay, so this is above the over here, the weekly chart. Okay, let me go back to the daily chart. Right, so this was because of the panic, right? So if you understand that this is a panic, okay, because the AI demand is just a subset of the cloud computing, then you'll be able to capture some good deals here. But usually at this level, you need to be more experienced. Yeah, don't buy on the deep break support. Don't go and buy unless you're experienced. So after that, the four big tech company confirm that their data center investment is still high, then NVIDIA recover, right? So those of you who missed the DeepSeek sharing, this is what it shows here, and it become more bullish after that because it was penalized, right? It was here and people, oh, high, too high, right? They may not buy because it was range bound around 130, 150, 130, 150, because here is considered high, here is considered good deal, until there's a panic, okay? Then the stock was penalized. So those of you who understand what's going on, you could have bought here. Right, then when it comes to somewhere near here, it's exhausted again. So this sell-off here, right? Look at this on the 18th of February is not so much a NVIDIA thing, is because of S&P 500 reaching all-time high. Right, those of you who are students, do you see my posting in our Facebook forum to watch out for this level, right? For profit taking. Yeah, there could be a profit taking because of SPY is near the all-time high here, and it did break above, then puncture. When it's at all-time high and the valuation is high, it's more vulnerable for bad news. And so happened on this day, right? There was a bad news on the consumer sentiment, right? There was 2 bad news on that day, which caused profit taking. So it caused a chain reaction panic. Okay. Yeah. So then it comes to here, strong support again, right? Then there's some buying, but this is weak. This is what those of you who have done trend trading, you should know this already, right? This is come down here, okay, come up, this become resistance, okay, 600 level, psychological round number, become resistance. So you need to watch out here. If you know intraday, you could have shorted near here. You could have waited for, can it break above? Cannot, then you short, right? These are the days where it's excellent for intraday trading. Who traded intraday during this period, shorting the market? Anyone? Those of you who have attended our intraday class, anyone shorted the SPY or specific stock, Tesla especially? Anyone shorted? Or most of you are not intraday? I was using the SPY put here. Yeah, you can use SPY. If those of you attended options, you can take SPY put or bear put. Okay. Yeah. So right now, what are the opportunities? Right. Let's talk about different stock here. We also need to look at the big picture, right? SPY originally has a panic because of the bad news yesterday, and now it has some recovery. But you need to watch out the 600 level, and it may not go so high. Look at this, right? 599.5, 50 cents before the resistance there already started the reversal. And there is one news here. There's one news here that caused the market to come down. Anyone is aware? There's one news here around this time. It was holding well here, even though it's near resistance. Right over here, I mean, this one. Even though near resistance, it still hang on there for a while. Didn't want to come down because, probably NVIDIA earnings is the one that can push the market a bit higher. It will beat expectation. But right on this dot, it came down. Okay, after I finish my presentation, I'll share with you what happened here. So this is still the part that's affecting the market. 40% macro impact. All right, so let's look at it. After that, today it came out, but I think you still need to watch out for the 600. Like those of you who knows intraday, watch out for this. Sometimes it can trick you. People, the big funds can push it up first and come back down. So if you see a false breakout, it can also be a good trade for shorting. And the other thing that you could do, let's look at the QQQ as well. Right, QQQ also very bearish, and the rebound is also considered weak. Like why do I consider the rebound weak? Like this is the resistance here. Can you see? Support become resistant right now over here. Right, and it comes to here, there's also a panic. Now we're going back to the level. Right, this can become resistant because my question is, what else can push the market higher? Unless there's a tariff resolution. Okay, so that's what I see as a correction. If because Donald Trump mentioned on Monday that he will go ahead with the tariff for Mexico and Canada when the 1 month is up next week. Right, so that was the bad news which caused this to, one of the news that caused it to come down. Okay, and yesterday this was another news on the tariff on Europe. Yeah, so and as long as this news is still lingering, there's no other positive resolution, right? Then unlikely. Do you think it will likely break above 520? I like to highlight anything can happen in the market when there's a different news that come in, different catalysts. But as of right now, right, I don't think there's another major one that can push it higher, right? If you're an investor and trader, you will know that this can be a cautious, right? Yeah, cautious area, right? Until he says, okay, tariff resolve. He used it for negotiation, and suddenly buddy again with Canada and Mexico because they comply to whatever he requested. Then the market can go back up. Okay, but I don't think it's going to be like super bullish until break all-time high again. For it to break this, probably another round of tax cut. Example like the 2017, right, repatriation tax. It could be one of them. Or he already resolved some of the tax concern or lower the original tariff, maybe not 25%, settle with 10%. Yeah, then there could be still some catalyst. And right now it's a seasonal sell-off period. What I mean by seasonal sell-off, typically there are some periods where it's bullish, some periods where it's a profit taking. And February, after the the peak earning season, is where people will take profit, which is also happening. Okay. Then when is it rally again? Usually around April, right? April, July is the highest probably upside, then October, November. Okay, so you don't understand that now we are coincide with a seasonal low for the overall market. Okay, so just be cautious. So from my perspective, it's better to just trade intraday for now. If you're intraday trader, if you're investor, you can start to look out for those stocks. Example, in the Growth Investing Express, we teach our students how to look at the right valuation for the respective stock, right? And look at the analyst forecast and to back project what is the right buy price. So okay, below what price you can buy. Then you look at the stock chart. You get all your chart prepared with where is the right place to buy. And this is where you can do some bargain hunting. But be very selective. This is not the time where you go to max out your 1% risk, right? So you need to stagger buy. Use the intraday confirmation. This is what I do. I use the intraday chart to confirm whether the support hold. And I use options to cover some of the downside risk. So depend on your experience, right? Beginners will do it very differently, right? If you're intermediate, you do it differently. And if you're advanced, then you use advanced tools. Okay. Yeah. So now I would think that the market is not stable yet to be adding so much position because of the tariff. Okay. So this is NVIDIA chart that I talked to you. I mentioned just now. Now let's look at the next correlated chart, right? AMD. Traditionally is the highest correlation. Okay, look at AMD. After the announcement, it was weak, right? It came down and then it goes up. Do you think NVIDIA announcement is good for AMD based on what I shared earlier? Do you think it's good for AMD? AMD has been very bearish because it couldn't compete with NVIDIA, right? It couldn't come up with any prominent chip that can compete. Yeah. The other reason is you need to understand the company level, not just industry. Right? Industry-wise, it seems to be in the same industry, but at the company level, the composition is different. AMD has 4 main segments, okay, that you need to understand. So the one that dragged AMD down, first of all, it doesn't have it's not the top choice for data center chip. Right? They're more like a second tier, but for AI, NVIDIA is the leading. Okay. The second one is the server platform, right? Server and client, right? Server and client. So server, they are still okay, but for client, that means people are not upgrading the laptop because the interest rate is still high. Consumer spending still low. Business are still tightening, right? They're not spending big time yet until they get more assurance that the interest rate is going to come down. And gaming is low, right? So there are gaming and client, which is affecting AMD, right? So to me, I will not go into AMD personally. Right then, because I don't want to buy based on hope. I need to buy, if I were to invest, I want to make sure that there's a strong catalyst for the stock to drive it to go up. Like, don't buy a stock. One of the lessons, don't buy a stock just because it's cheap. How many of you agree with that type of me? Don't buy a stock just because it's cheap. Cheap is always cheap for a reason. Right? Intel also cheap. Why do you buy? Right? Yeah, because why is it cheap? They couldn't compete. That's why it's cheap. Right? Do you want to buy a company that cannot compete? Right? So then you have to pray hard for it to come back. I'd rather buy a company that could be slightly expensive, but it's the leader. Then you can use ways to protect the downside. Like example, you can use options, or at least there will be a stronger support. You're trading on the way up, not trading on the way down. Yeah? Unless you're talking about shorting. Okay, so Intel is what NVIDIA earnings help Intel and AMD is to help it hold the support. Right? That's my perspective. right? You can have your own perspective. What I mean here is because NVIDIA is so-called the big brother, right? So NVIDIA is still able to perform and shows that the AI demand is still there, data center demand is still there. So for Intel and AMD, they also have the related business, for example, data center and server that is used by those mid to big size company, and also gaming, right? So if the demand is still there, at least AMD and Intel support can hold. Because before that, there was some concern. Yeah, so that's one of the correlation. The other part is the data center stock, but it doesn't mean it's going to be very bullish, Intel and AMD. Until the gaming sector or the client recovery comes in, right? Then you may see more bullishness on AMD and Intel. The second part is on TSMC, right? TSMC has more dependency, so it's not so straightforward as well. For TSMC, you can see what it does. It seems like Intel and AMD, it helps TSMC to hold the support because it's about demand, right? So if NVIDIA and Apple still have demand for the microchip, then TSMC has business. Okay, and it's already penalized earlier, so there could be some room for TSMC to grow. But the lingering issues will still be Donald Trump policy, okay, for this. But likely the support over here, yeah, can hold like the 190 here. Right, so it depends on whether you are intraday trader or swing trader or trend trader. Okay. Yeah, so you'll use different strategy. Example, for our intraday trader, you can still find opportunity to trade the range, right? And this is downtrend. Normally, we don't like to trade down, or you can wait for trend reversal, right? So we have a process map on step-by-step how to look at trend reversal. Okay. Yeah, so this TSMC, I think the support likely to hold unless there's other macro factors. Let's look at the data center stocks that I covered during the DeepSeek as well. If we look at the VRT, VST, CEG, PWR, POWL, there's a lot of data center stocks and ANET. All these stocks has a big pullback after the DeepSeek. And last week when Microsoft announced that they are reducing the lease for data center, then they caused another downside. So NVIDIA earnings actually helped the stocks to recover. So VRT, you can see, right, after NVIDIA earnings, it actually went up. So I'd like you to notice this, the pattern. Can see NVIDIA, it came down, go up, and then it broke the 130. Yeah, it broke the 130, but broke for $1 is quite common. Sometimes you get pushed down for $1, then only push up. Right? These are done by the the big guys. I don't want to call that bad guys. Okay, push it down, then only go back up. Okay. So it actually came down on the low, but for CEG and VRT, right? Let's look at VRT. Can you see it's a higher low here? Right, it's taken at positive. NVIDIA earnings gave a reassurance for the demand for data center, and this is the another one which is, it's able to maintain at a higher low, right? Those of you attended trend trading, right? You know about the higher low, higher high concept. Yeah, so it's able to maintain. Also because it's penalized a lot, you can see the right, this area, BST. You just need to bear in mind this area, these particular stocks in the data center are very sensitive to data center related ecosystem news. So it's still better to trade it intraday for the meantime. Yeah, or limit your entry to very strong level. Don't trade somewhere in between. Like if you're keeping overnight, right? So stagger your position, don't go in one shot, right? Lower amount and only very strong levels, right? Then only go in. Because now based on the NVIDIA earnings, it's actually able to recover, right? And CEG also in the list that I shared, right? You can see here after NVIDIA earnings, it actually came up. Yeah, yeah. So that's how. So power data center, power infrastructure stock, positive. EQIX, right? Which is the construction. They don't have much post market, so hard to tell right now. I would say it should help it to hold the support. Right, because NVIDIA didn't say anything, the demand drop. Okay, so likely the support can hold. Okay, the next one is SMCI, and SMCI, you know what is affecting the stock so far? SMCI has integrity issues, right? Reporting they were suspicious of manipulating the revenue numbers. Yeah, so I won't go for this kind of company unless you just trade intraday, it's okay. But based on NVIDIA earnings result, is taken as positive demand. Not very bullish, but positive in mind. So I would say a lot of this will be more or less support hold sideways range. That's just my perspective on some of these correlated stock, because NVIDIA also is not that bullish. So it's likely going to be support hold range bound, right? Until there's a more bullish catalyst that comes in. Some of them may break on the upside if the tariff is, there's a positive news on the tariff. Okay. Then let's look at the Dell. I won't be able to go through all, just give you some sample here, right? Dell also same behavior. Okay, but the stock chart is not that healthy. Right now, there's a higher low. Okay. Yeah, because Dell also affected by the renewal cycle. Okay. Yeah, so if you want to get all these stocks that I mentioned earlier, the dependency diagram. Yeah, so you can key in you can subscribe to it later on. You can download, because I have more slides than I can cover over here. Yeah, one more important stocks is Broadcom, right? Broadcom is on the providing the data center, the networking chip. Okay, it's also very volatile here. But what I noticed yesterday is the support can hold right now. You can see after the NVIDIA earnings, it forms a higher support, which is good news. But don't chase it on market open here, right? Because you can come back profit taking first due to the tariff news, right? So if you know where is the strong support, you can wait there, right? Look at candlestick confirmation for those of you who have attended our intraday class, right? Then you can trade those levels. I would say don't trade somewhere in between unless you're very experienced. We are here to look for great deals, not for the sake of trading every deal, right? We should be very selective on great setup. Then you don't have to trade so much and you can still have higher success rate. Okay, yeah, so this what I want to share. You can take a look at all the other stock chart. Remember, you can choose between investing, trend trading, swing trading, and intraday. We taught you 4 trading styles, and each one of them has an entry and exit, so don't confuse them. Okay, so how many of you do not have a specific strategy yet? If you don't have a specific strategy yet, this is what we can share with you. Just a minute. Over here. Yeah, you can join our 3-hour free webinar where we give you an introduction to the US stock market. And this, whatever we share with you, can apply to any market, just that our examples are more US market. So scan this and you can join our 3-hour webinar. We have it once a week, but we only schedule 2 at a time. One on the weekday, sometimes one on the weekend. It's a free webinar where we will teach you the systematic process framework to approach the stock market, right? All the way from growth investing, swing, trend, intraday. What can you expect for these 4 trading style? What do you need to consider when you trade the stock market? Right, it's a very systematic approach. So if you don't have a systematic approach, then I highly recommend you to join this. And the next one, because this session is also fit to Moomoo Live, I'd like to encourage you to explore the Moomoo platform, mainly because there are some cool features. For example, all this learning program, the Moomoo Live, and they are still, they are very progressive broker, right? So there are still a lot of enhancement, like when we submit the request to them, they are actually working on it. Yeah, so depend on whether you are a beginner user, intermediate, or advanced, right? If you are a beginner user, then it's a very user-friendly platform. If you're going for like mid-tier to advanced level, then there will be their advanced tools is more on the analysis side. But if you're talking about advanced entry, there's still some areas they're working on. But what I like to highlight to you is use some of the cool feature here. Let me show you. There's something called investment teams here. Right, in the there's 2 platforms here. One is the Moomoo NX and one is Moomoo. Right, so you can see you can have a chart that's a daily, 3-minute and 1-minute, right, which we taught our students on the intraday. Okay, then you also have you can key in your watch list, and also you can look at the overall markets. Okay, so you can trade US stock, Malaysia, Singapore. There's also a screener here. I won't have time to cover all these features, but you can actually play around with it. Yeah, and the community is where you join in the live feed right now, right? Yeah. Okay, so let me move it one side. So if you are a Beyond Insight student, you get an additional cash reward. And we are working with Moomoo to potentially give us some additional freebies like the options that are put for some time. So still working on that. Yeah, but you can already get all these freebies over here. By the way, this is we are open for our courses. We don't advocate any specific broker. You choose the broker that you think fit for you, right? So you're not sure how to choose what is the right broker, you can share with us, depend on your experience level, depend on what you want to trade, what feature you want to use, then you need to choose the right fit broker for you, okay? And this is what we can share with you on the incentive if you sign up right now. So that's the main thing I want to cover. But the last part I want to share with you is, let's see what's the time, whether I have time for some Q&A. Now it's 9:15. I do not want to drag on too long because 9:30 I need to prepare for market open since it's NVIDIA post earnings. There could be a lot of nice setup. What I want to share with you is the tariff news. Okay, let me open up first. There's a news related to the tariff. Let me open up the news for you because I just accidentally closed the news. Lichai, can you help me to post the news so that it's faster for me if you have it?
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, so I found it. Yeah, this is the news from briefing.com. Can you see this? At 1:38 p.m. US time, you can see here, markets dropped following President Trump's repeated comment on tariff. And after his cabinet meeting, President Trump said he's not stopping China-Mexico tariff. He is also renewing threats against EU for 25% tariff starting April 2nd. And this actually is the one that caused the market to fall on the intraday at 1:30 a.m. our time. Right? So this news may not coincide straight away because sometimes the news for different sites come in a bit late. So because of this, we need to let it settle down. Right? So today, even though it may go back up, there could be people who sell near the resistance until he settled with the, let's say, Mexico and Canada, right? So we want to look at when the time comes, March 4th, okay, we see what is the resolution. So if they don't, either he postponed, then temporarily the market may be having some celebration for a short time. But if they have a resolution, then the market can rally. Okay, but no resolution can be bad for the market. There could be more sell-off. Right? Because right now the bond yield is quite low. That shows that some people are moving money into the bond right now, temporary. Okay, so any questions on this? Yeah, the other news is related to the debt ceiling. The House has approved to increase the debt ceiling. So they have a budget proposal that will bring to the Senate, right, to approve. So the Senate is controlled by Donald Trump, Republican. So likely it can get approved, but there could be some hoo-ha. So this is considered a positive news, right? Because the debt ceiling was reached during Biden's time, but he managed to negotiate with Republican to postpone it so there's less impact during the US election. And it's supposed to be resolved early this year. And now it's February. They managed to have some agreement already, right, on what to cut. Yeah, so that one is quite a detailed document. I won't have time to go through it in detail right now. Okay, so probably a separate sharing. Yeah, but there's not enough details as to exactly what to cut. He just said, okay, set a target to cut 800 billion on energy. Okay, so depending on what exactly is going to be cut in energy, that will affect those industries. Yeah, currently I don't see anything related to the semicon yet. Okay, otherwise I would have highlighted here. So remember, there's two more news on the macro side that's affecting the market right now. One is negative, which is this news. Yeah, Donald Trump want to impose tariffs to 25% on Europe. Okay, Europe may retaliate, which is also bad for Tesla, bad for Apple. Okay, bad for Tesla, bad for Apple because they may impose. That's also important market for Tesla and Apple. So they may retaliate and increase the tariff for US product. Okay, so if you are intraday trader, you can also short temporary. Right, don't keep overnight because tomorrow, if Trump changed his mind, he says something else, it may go back up. So I would suggest if anything overnight, only trade the key levels, right, in this kind of period. If you trade long enough, you will go through periods like this, so don't get upset, right? I traded for 30 years. So earlier days, I can understand it's a bit uncertain, but once you go through the different market cycle, you will know that this is a norm. Okay, so you need to always prepare for what can turn around. So at those key levels, the probability of rebound is higher, or at resistance, the probability of sell-off is higher. So you're trading based on higher probability, right? Make sure you have a clear entry and exit rules. Okay, so any questions? Now I'm opening up to question. And before I wrap up, I just want to share with you that we have a new course that's launched this year, which is actually a branch of our bigger macro insights course, right? Those of you who are our student, you're aware that we have a course called Macro Insights, which cover what are the 10 factors affecting the bigger picture. And we have a course called Industry Insights, right? So that actually cover very in-depth all the way from beginners, intermediate to advanced. But to make sure that more of our students can navigate all this uncertainty in the market, we create a lower end course, which is 1/3 of the macro insights, so that you can start first. It's called Macro Insights Essential. Some of you may have attended the overview. Yeah. So what does it cover? It covers monetary policy, right? That means what are the most important market mover, like money supply and interest rate. Secondly, it covers interpretation of all these economic indicators, how to trade it. And thirdly, it covers how to look at the bond yield and how it impacts the stock market. And last but not least, fiscal policy, how it moves the market. Right? Because all these policies move the market 40%. 40% impact to stock price. 30% is like this industry chain reaction in NVIDIA. And 30% is the company specific. Like you can see, NVIDIA behave differently than AMD and Intel. That's the company specific within the industry. Okay, so if you're interested, you can go to this slide here at the back. You can chat with our team, right? Then our team can share with you more information. Okay, so that's all I have for now. Okay, so you can also scan this. If you are interested to have this slide, I have more slides at the back, which I don't have time to present. This is what I extracted. I actually compiled this manually, okay, so that you can see the details of NVIDIA performance. Like how you read this is the annual figure. This is the annual sales. And for each of the segment. Like this allow you to dissect it closer, and it shows you the year on year. So from here, you can see that the growth rate, right, has started to slow down for this segment. So you can analyze more detail on each of the segment. And I have also break down the quarterly numbers here, right? So you can see that earlier of the years, right, it was growing in terms of the growth rate. After that, slow down. That's why 93%, although it's very high, but it's still considered slowing down. Like this will explain a lot. Then you can look at gaming, professional visualization, and so on. These are in the appendix. I tabulate this in Excel myself. And also this is the trend. These are from investor relation. Like you can see the quarterly trend. I wish they had put it in a chart, but they haven't published the chart yet. Yeah, segment performance, fiscal summary by year. Yeah, and this gross margin changes, whether year-on-year margin is up or down, and fiscal summary. Okay, so you can subscribe to the link that is posted. Lex, is a link posted already? Yeah, you can click on the link. Yeah, then you will be able to download the PDF version, and I encourage you to digest, especially the quarterly performance by segment. Yeah, if you're interested to go deeper into analysis of NVIDIA stock to give you the conviction, like whether what are the risks that you need to manage. So to sum up, I think based on purely put the external macro news aside, NVIDIA earnings help the correlated ecosystem to maintain the support, but most likely it's going to be range bound, not super bullish, because there's still macro concern right now, especially the tariff. Okay, that's the one sentence summary. Okay, so I hope you benefit from this, and do let us know what other topics that you would like us to share in this YouTube live. It's a lot of effort for us to, and me and my team, to compile the analysis for you, especially when it's this morning. Basically, I have to cancel a lot of meetings just to prepare for this. So I hope that this really benefit you. If you are interested on specific companies' earnings analysis and also certain topics like we shared DeepSeek before, we have shared FOMC, let us know so that we can plan for this in our future sharing. Okay, so let us know, do you benefit from it so far, right? Type on the chat so that it encourages you, or what aspect of it you like about the presentation, so we know which aspect we should cover more. Okay, so let me see whether I have any quick questions. I'll probably do another maximum 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, so I have one question highlighted to me from our team. With higher power demand in coming years, would the power infrastructure company continue to do well since the demand don't fluctuate as much? Yes, by right. There should be, I covered this in the DeepSeek presentation. I can show you one slide from there. Right, the question is data center demand. For more details, you can review my DeepSeek YouTube live. Right, so this is a data center demand, but you can see from here, the AI component of the demand is actually just a small component, right? Roughly, if I look at this chart, about 20%. Okay, sorry, my market alarm just came up. Let me off it first. So the data center demand, now we are somewhere here, right? You can see the AI component is probably less than 10%, right? This is for US, and international is also very small, but it's projected to go bigger. But even here, it's going to be 20% of the data center demand. Where does the rest of the demand come from? The cloud computing. Yeah, cloud computing means, for example, these CRM software, your Microsoft productivity tools, your Office 360, your Google Cloud, iCloud, all those photos that you store on the server. Yeah, those are the rest of the demand will be there. However, you need to understand the market go by perception of the future, So when there's a DeepSeek panic, right, and people don't study to that detail, so they just sell off. So if there's enough people sell off, then it will hit your stop loss, okay? But you still need to get out first because you don't know how much the panic. Okay, so, but if you understand this, then you wait for it to stabilize and you wait at a strong support. I would say because the concern is still there, then you can trade the bounce on those support. And if you know options, then you use it to balance. I won't suggest that you keep too much position on the data center stock overnight. I've seen in the recent weeks, right, it's very volatile. Yeah, and also because the tariff concern is still there. But some of the quality stocks, the support is likely going to hold right now. Yep, you can trade the bounce during that period. And if you know options, then you can use either a bull call spread or covered call, right, to reduce some of the downside risk. And if it goes sideways, you still collect premium. Okay, that's what I like. Sideways, you still collect premium, and if go up, there's a bonus for you. And if you use a bull call spread, then it can limit the exposure. Okay, otherwise you trade intraday. It doesn't mean you cannot trade swing or trend. You just reduce the exposure gradually. So as you move out of stop loss, then you can gradually increase. But my advice is don't put all your focus into data center. You need to diversify. Right, because just one DeepSeek news or maybe another one from Huawei stocks, or another AI model, it can also has a chain reaction, right? You can put into different types of the industries and stocks, right? So that no matter what happened, right, you don't have everything down together. So I hope that answers your question. All right, so one more last question before we wrap up. Yeah, for beginners, focus on learning the fundamentals of the company, right? So we have a growth investing workshop where we cover a freedom model step by step from the 6,000 plus stocks in the US market or 1,000, let's say in the Malaysia market. How do you filter the best stock, right? That's profitable and high growth. Then how do you look at the performance, right? The track record. How to evaluate that the valuation is right for you. Then how do you decide, right? When to get in, when to get out. Okay, where's the maximum buy price? So once you go through a systematic process, then a lot of fear will go away because you know you can manage the risk. Yeah, we have a very strict money management. When you hit your stop loss, it's only 1% of your capital. Okay, that's the strict money management. Okay, yeah, so there's a question. Is there anything to watch out tonight? PCE results. Oh, okay, so let me just do this, cover this last question. Close this first. All right, let me move this aside. Cover the important economic indicators that you need to watch out for right now. Okay. Okay, so let me move this here. Excuse me for a while. I have too many slides on my screen. Yeah. So if you look at the Forex Factory, so today we have yes, GDP. Today we have preliminary GDP. Yeah, it's going to be here in 30 seconds. Should we wait for that? 30 seconds. It's going to move the market away. So GDP, preliminary GDP going to be announced in 21, 20. We do countdown together. Right. So what is it? If it's higher, is it good or bad for the market? Before I show you the number, if it's higher, good or bad? GDP. Yeah, higher is good, because it shows the growth rate is higher. Lower means there's some concern, but this is the past. It's not a forecast. Okay, unemployment claims. Right, so okay, let's look at let it reflect. Okay, so in line. So not a concern. Normally it doesn't move the market. Let's wait for this. Unemployment claims. Yeah, for those, so this is what we also cover in the macro insights, like how to trade this. Okay, so this is red color. Red color means more claims, right? Normally bad for the market. So you can see here shooting up, but for unemployment claims is a weekly indicator. It doesn't move the market that much. So today you have the tariff news and you have the NVIDIA news. I think that will take precedence over slightly above the unemployment claims, because last month the unemployment rate is so low. So I think this is negligible for now, unless they keep trending up, right? Then this one is a concern. Preliminary GDP price index. Okay, so if you don't understand this, you can read this, right? Yeah, so this is to show whether the forecast, right, on the goods price on goods and services is going to increase or decrease. Like, so 4.2 may cause an inflationary concern. Right? So what we need to do is, after it's announced, you check the stock chart, right, to see what the stock chart says. Then you can sort of gauge the reaction. But on market open, things can change, so don't take for granted. I've seen many different variations when the indicator is announced, right? So you need to wait for a couple of minutes to see the overall reaction. Okay, but I would say that today the main thing affecting the market will be the tariff news from yesterday on Europe and China, and also the NVIDIA related ecosystem. Okay, so you can potentially prepare for some range bound trading, right? So if you trade breakout, the probability of success could be lower, but it can still happen. We trade based on probability. Okay, if the technical signals show can go up, then we trade, but I may trade smaller amount if that's the case. Yeah, compared to when it's here or when it's here. Okay, yeah, so that's the last question. I think today's economic indicators may not be a major market mover, but tomorrow, this one, yes, core PC index. This is the inflation indicator that's favored by the Fed, right? So is this too high, then it's not good. Yeah. Okay, so that's what we think we need to cover this week. And Saturday, right, about China, because China stock has been bullish recently, but it's like a pump and dump. You need to be careful when you trade China stock, right? It goes up a lot, then people dump it. But there's a change of the sentiment in terms of the China regulation. Xi Jinping invite the private sector for meeting, including Jack Ma. That actually changed the tone. But this also can affect the sentiment in China, right? There are manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMI. So you'll be interested to know, because every week there's an indicator and they move the market differently in different periods, not the same way to interpret. If you're interested, I highly recommend you to, if budget is not concerned, go for our Macro Insights course, where we go deeper into the case study on not just how to interpret, but how to trade the indicators. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, and trade well tonight. Prepare well and follow risk management. Follow the process map, okay, that we give to you. For those of you who are not our students, so welcome to join our session as well. Join our 3-hour free webinar, so that you can learn the proper way to invest and trade in the stock market with a systematic way and also with proper risk management. And I look forward to see you in our next seminar. Okay, thank you very much to our support team as well. Thank you everyone who joined tonight. And did y'all fill in the feedback on what you want to see next? right? So that our team has some idea what to prioritize for our sharing. May not be me sharing all the time. Like we have a team, it could be Lee Chai or our other analysts sharing. Okay, so I will see you next time. Yeah, please type on the chat so that we know what you like to